Marfoogle news on the step. Bring it down, What? Marfoogle news on the step. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News, and the music just doesn't stop. Today we're going to talk about some pretty serious stories happening overseas. We'll be right back with a ton more right after this. It is a live show, so anything can happen, and anything can go wrong. So we'll be right back in just a moment. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. I can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight we have a lot to cover, so remember, if you go over to marfooglenews.com, you can actually follow along live. You can grab a second device and go over there and see our bibliography. In fact, everything that we show you here today, we try to make sure that we have our pictures, our tweets, our videos, our articles, all archived over there on marfooglenews.com. It's actually very easy to navigate. When you go over there, you will see that it is all done by thumbnail. You'll see this just keeps happening, and then once you see that, just click it, and you'll see that we have every single article, tweet, video there possible, so that you can actually go read and check my work. And again, that is something that is available for every single show 5 days a week. Again, any of our shows over on Marfoogle News are also over there. There's tabs for each channel we have right there at the top. You can also search this retrospectively. You can, if you remember a show with a specific topic, you can search that topic in the upper right-hand corner and get to that show. On the right side, if you do want to support us, we're completely independent. Again, if you do go over there, you'll see that you have EMP Shield, NordVPN, My Patriot Supply. All of those are affiliates. If you end up purchasing something through those, they basically send us a commission for sending you to them. That helps us run things, and it helps us survive. Dex and I, again, this is our life. So thank you so much for everybody that supports this channel and has supported me since I was doing videos out of my car. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And then down at the bottom, web-only content, definitely going to hit that at the very end. There is stuff that is too hot for TV, the stuff that is, too far to one direction for us to cover without staying neutral. That is all down at the bottom as well. All right, let's bring in Dex, my co-host / internet brother. What is going on, Dex, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fantastic.
So we had lots of issues before the show, but we'll go over that later at the very end, because I know people want to get right into the news. There is a ton of it. In fact, I had to go live a couple times over the last couple days because there were several stories, some that were sleepers, some that were, literally went under the radar, even for those of us who have a really good eye on this stuff. Again, you have multiple people in the Foogle fam that pick out stuff that is obscure from other countries and they send us stuff. We get all sorts of links, and you guys help make this show. Some of the stories that are here on this show were put together through your sources and through people out there. We are much stronger together, so I appreciate each and every one of you that do that. If you do want to send us stories, Adam or Dex, either one, adam@marfooglenews.com or dex@marfooglenews.com. That's our emails, and again, you can send us whatever you'd like over there. Just keep it professional. And then, of course, Diane Moses, thank you for supporting right off the bat. Merry Christmas, and don't forget to hit the like. Machina Opus, before the show even started, says smoke on the water. Hopefully tomorrow's is not fire in the sky. That's actually really funny, Dex. Dex, do you want to tell them what your idea for the title was tonight?
Well, it was, what was it, fire? It was fire in the sky, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fire in the sky. I said that's a movie, though. That's the famous movie with the UFO abduction. So I think
because I was teaching a kid guitar, and that's like the first guitar song you ever learned.
Well, I also think that I think we've done Fire in the Sky, but we might have to look at our own website, because I think it was about 2.5 years ago, after there was a meteor that came in. I think I used that title. Well, here's the thing. So a lot of people messaged me about this, and they were extremely worried, and the reason why is because of the potential of this, but a lot of people actually kind of got confused with this. I believe they thought that this was a actual event that was happening. More so, this is a high alert. It says a solar storm warning. Earth is on high alert as 2 big flares are set to be ejected from the sun. It says Dr. Tamantha Skov, a space weather physicist, warned of a potential solar flare, saying, quote, no big Earth-directed storms yet, but we're on high alert. Several sunspot clusters are in Earth view right now. At least 2 are big flare players, but none have launched anything significant. So what is happening is the sun is supposedly lined up, and the sunspots are pointed towards us. If you follow this, then Wages World or any of these channels that basically cover this 24/7, you would have probably learned that a solar flare can go out, and it could be the most gigantic solar flare ever, and it won't affect us if it's pointed in a different direction. What is really bad for us is when that sunspot and those solar flares are pointed right at us. It takes Dex, isn't it a matter of like minutes for the first stage to get here, or like a matter of hours? And then
the X-rays happen immediately, or within minutes, and then the CME, as we would normally refer to it, that usually has the effect with the northern lights and can wipe out power and things like that if it's really strong. That takes a few days to get through the distance, because it goes a lot slower. Yeah,
so it's not as fast as that. So this is the thing is the sun has been extremely unpredictable. We've shown you the evidence that I feel like we are going to have a crazy next 3 years, and that is because of what I have researched into this. I by no means am an expert in the field, but I have talked to many people that I consider experts in this, and again, this is something that is kind of this huge open door with a lot of people looking into it, and a lot of disagreements in that field. There are a couple things that are kind of split on, and that is the 11-year cycle or the 22-year cycle. The new 22-year cycle that scientists can use the information that we do have, it looks really bad as far as how far back it goes, which it actually goes back hundreds of years, I believe. I want to say up to 400 years they've been keeping track of certain things in the sky. And if they are correct on that 22-year cycle, not only will this be one of the most unpredictable, but it could be one of the strongest cycles. We are in solar cycle 25. Dex, am I correct? It's 25, right? Not 24? We're either in...
Yeah, I believe so.
We're either in 24 or 25. I believe we just started cycle 25, and the cycles are usually, I want to say 11 years, and then or 12 years, and then this last one before was a 10-year cycle, or they ended it right before that 11, so it was a short cycle. if it's going by the pattern that has been seen, then that's a bad thing, because they have seen these kind of very, I guess, reliable kind of huge spikes and these huge things that have happened in the past. And by looking at that cycle, it does not look good. The most predictions that have been made about this say that we are going to have extreme things happen in 2024, in just 3 years from now. So that's a pretty big deal. What do you think about it? Put it in the comments down below. Dr. Skov also said that a certain solar wind may result in beautiful auroras being displayed over the skies in various parts of the world, including the UK. Okay, so first of all, with everything that is going on, let me take off this jacket so we don't have that noise here. With everything that has happened in the last few years and how all of the elites are heading off to space, all of the elites are dumping off their stocks, leaving their jobs, the mass CEO exodus of 2018, 2019, and 2020, the production of a space force, an actual space-related military, with DART, with Sunspot Observatory, with, of course, HAMMER, Hypervelocity Asteroid Mitigation and Emergency Response Vehicles, basically nukes on missiles being made, with, of course, Asgardia. Elites are actually making a government for space. Why all of this is happening, again, that is the big question. And, of course, Elon Musk, who... many people, are split on whether they're fans or they despise him, or they're fans because they despise him. I don't know. He is connected in a ton of ways. He's connected in Neuralink, in the Boring Company, digging under the ground. So he's infrastructure. He is connected with space. So he's connected in military. And I think Neuralink, too, is definitely going to have some military adaptations there. And then, of course, he has the last one, Tesla, which is more infrastructure, because now he is helping grids with backup batteries. So they are expecting something. Do they expect a sun event to really screw things here up on Earth? Are they preparing? Why have all these timelines been moved up and a ton? And if you look through, when they give you kind of these little kind of droplets of information, it doesn't look that bad. But when you start to compile everything that's happened since really 2017, 2018, it's really freaky. The fact that we had our first interstellar object come into space, Oumuamua, and it actually turned around, went by Earth, and then sped up as it left. They had the second one. It was, I forget the name of the second one, but the second one came in. This is world history. We've never seen an interstellar object. We have now had two. We have had so many weird things happen. It's just absolutely nuts. And, of course, what is the thought on your mind? And then, of course, the event that has happened over the last 2 years, they want to all of a sudden cut out all of these things. They say that there's going to be catastrophic flooding. This is mainstream authoritative sources saying they're all in agreement. Scientists are all in agreement. We're going to have catastrophic storms in 2030 due to the moon's wobble. That's their excuse anyways. And they are saying that in 10 years or so, we will own nothing and be happy. That was the World Economic Forum. Jack Dorsey said, hyperinflation is coming, ... soon. And a week later, he left. Among all of these other CEOs that left after they dumped their stock, what are they preparing for? That is my question. And this is stuff that I am passionate about. And I talk to people in freaking the Target aisles, this is something that I tell pretty much everybody I see about, and they probably think I'm crazy. But when you look and follow all of the things that have happened, it's kind of hard not to have this. I feel the difference between myself and somebody who doesn't at least give it a minute is somebody who has not seen all of these stories. When I tell a string of these facts, these stories that have happened, and I have backup for, if you tell somebody without the computer nearby, they're like, the one thing that would shock people is that everything that I just said is true. As far as the sunspot, and Starlink being formed. Starlink, of course, which we all think is for internet, also added sensors to sense hypersonic objects. basically things going 20,000 miles, 15,000 miles, essentially detecting super, super fast stuff. We've got the James Webb telescope supposedly being put out by the sun facing Earth. Well, why would you do that? Well, because you can't see asteroids coming from the sun's direction. What you can do, which again, they just touched the sun apparently, and again, I'm not saying, I don't know, none of us can go to space to verify any of this, but they said that they touched the sun with this other thing. They're going to the sun. What are they doing? Why all of this stuff? Why are they sending DNA samples to the moon? Why are they putting navies in mountains? Again, Swedish Navy, I believe, or Norway. I want to say it's Swedish Navy. Put it into a mountain, underwater canals, straight out of James Bond, out of the actual game that first Nintendo 64 game, in tunnels like that. They're putting their Navy in. Why? Why are they sending DNA samples everywhere of every animal and plant and living species in the world? I have no idea. You tell me. As far as this goes, solar storms, a lot of the audience here and a lot of my friends and the people that I actually, talk with, they believe that the sun is related in almost every catastrophe Earth has ever had. Do you believe that? Do you agree with that? Tell me in the comments down below. What do you think? And again, make sure to comment. Musk says his tax bill for 2021 was over $11 billion. So more money than we will ever see in our lifetime was just his tax bill. It says Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and occasional world's richest man, took to Twitter late Sunday to inform followers that he will be spending more in taxes this year than some countries make in an entire year. It says, for those wondering, I will pay $11 billion in taxes this year. One thing that I saw was that a lot of people were saying on Twitter, everything he was posting, you had these responses to him like, oh, yeah, well, maybe you can pay your taxes. Dex, was there something that I missed about Elon not? I know that, T-Man had so many people going after him for, flexing the rules on taxes and not paying taxes. Why are they doing that with Elon? Just because of the sheer amount of money that he makes, or what?
Well, what's crazy, this happened I think it was last week. Warren tweeted out and was claiming that he didn't pay enough taxes and he was freeloading off of everyone else. So, that's sort of why he made this statement. And I think he also originally made one of the comments to not only his audience, but to Bernie, saying, have I sold enough? I'll sell more. And meaning anytime he sells, he has to pay tax. That's the whole notion, is they say they don't sell anything, they hold it and they take loans against it so they don't have to claim the income and then turn around and pay tax on it. So yeah, he's sort of, been putting it out against the narrative and he also made a statement a while back. What was it? That eventually they run out of other people's money and they come for you. I think he made that statement about some of the plans that the government was doing to either tax the rich or tax the middle class.
Because they were trying to tax unrealized capital, right? Isn't that what it was called? Unrealized
capital gains. So if you held something and you didn't sell it, they were still going to tax you even if you didn't sell it yet.
So imagine owning a house, buying it for $100,000. Just say you're in a dream world where you can buy a house for $100,000. Maybe, I don't know if that's still possible now. But $100,000, say you lucked out and somebody, a family member, sold you a house for $100,000 in Seattle. That house goes up, and in 10 years, it may have gone up $100,000. You could take loans off of that. Well, guess what? If it goes up, say another $100,000, so in every single year, if it went up $1,000, you would be taxed on that $1,000, even though you haven't sold it yet. So you actually physically have to come up with money before you sell your house and pay on the amount that it went up, even though you don't hold that cash that it went up in value. That was the unrealized tax gains. And Elon basically argued that that would be at the rich. It would be pointed at him first. But once it's there, once that kind of precedent has been set, then it would trickle down to the middle class. So, I mean, just all of us, right? It would be under a certain amount, and it would be over this amount, which is bad for everybody. Most people, a lot of people that I know, they have most of their money in their home. That is their kind of retirement plan. Their house goes up, they loan against it or whatever. Not retirement, I should say. That is kind of their life. Their life's earning is in their houses, especially here. I know most people that have sold their house. They bought it for $100,000 20 years ago. Now it's worth $1.4 million. You sell that, you have kind of a little nest egg. You can live simply, live in an apartment or something, whatever. But yeah, just super insane politics going on right now. And then, so that was a big argument on Twitter. And then Google Maps. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. It's also going to be probably the largest ever individual payment to the IRS.
That's incredible. So he's breaking records left and right. It says Google Maps user spots stealth aircraft as WW3 fears rise between China and U.S. I mentioned this on my other video. So the U.S. government, of course, always does training. Somebody commented on my video. Basically, it was a video of helicopters, and on that short, I put, have you noticed that there has been an increased amount of Air Force aircraft in the sky? And I said, do you think it's related to the tensions with China and U.S.? A lot of comments. Everybody was saying, I see 6 helicopters over my house every Tuesday now, and I've never seen this in my life. Look at the comments on that video, and you'll have all the proof you need. There's people from all over the country and all over the world saying that their military is up in the sky above us, and it's like, it's not normal. See, somebody commented and says, you do realize that they do training all the time, right? And I by the way, and if they didn't mean offense, the way they wrote it was like, no big deal. We're talking about the people that follow Flight Radar 24/7, and all of the publicly available information about the stuff above us, that has skyrocketed. It's just gone off of the charts. You're talking about 14 C5 Galaxies in a line on Flight Radar, all flying, all with a different call sign, all doing these weird drills. Why should that worry you? Most people are not going to pay attention to that, but China and Russia are. They're flexing. They are flexing. And by the way, another commenter got it square on the nose there, is they did this a ton before WW2. Just an absolute ton of flexing. Well, because before we were involved in certain wars, that we've done this, where before we actually got ourselves in, we were flexing and we were like, oh, you don't want to mess with us. Because guess what? You may see it fly over your head, but China and Russia are watching those C5 Galaxies. And they have seen the news that we recently put out. We are going to use all of our aircraft for everything. We're going to use everything we got. They're going to use C5 Galaxies and Hercules and big cargo ships like that to drop out missiles that will then launch and then take off to their target. I mean, we're talking about giant missiles, possible ICBMs, or you're talking about huge missiles. So we would use those in like an end game scenario. That's why it's freaky. On top of that, all that Saturday, this is a few Saturdays back, it was like there was just nonstop. There was Black Hawk helicopters, Chinooks everywhere, but nothing was publicly acknowledged. Like there was no big drills going on. There might have been a couple little ones that were regional to like 2 areas, but we're talking about across the country. What are they preparing for? Why are they preparing and practicing landing those same C5 Galaxies that they say that they'll even use those to launch missiles? Why are they practicing landing planes like that on U.S. highways? Why are a lot of our U.S. highways getting these weird purple lights? Are those the cities that they would use for like backup bases? And would they tell us publicly? No, because then they would have to tell everybody publicly, right? I don't know. I think that and by the way, taxi lights are blue. I want to say there are runway lights. One of the lights on an actual runway are blue, or like a purple, dark blue. I'm not saying that that's what they are. A lot of people have their theories that the black lights that they're and they're actual black lights. They're black light reflective things shine in these street lights. And they're especially on these entrances and on highways. Those highways, if all of our bases and airfields were destroyed, those highways would then turn into our new airport. So pretty crazy. Taiwan's practicing the same thing. UK is practicing the same thing, at least according to military that is in our comments. So I don't know if that will come out publicly or not, but I'm sure. Watch, we'll end up covering an article with UK as well, doing the same thing. That means that's a possibility they're training for a first strike on us, which we'll bring it up here in a second. We might have just done a kind of a first strike scenario. It says Google Maps users were fascinated at the sight of what appears to be a stealth aircraft flying above fields of crops. The Reddit user posted the snaps with the caption, "Google Maps can see stealth aircraft." This is what looks like a stealth boomer. That's definitely, it's pretty clear. Like I don't think there's much question.
And it's still there. I'm looking at it now on my Google Maps. If you plug in the coordinates that's in the article, and I will say, if you guys are reading the article and you're doing this later, the coordinates in the article are actually wrong. The last letter of east should be west. So change the E to a W on the end of those coordinates, and then you'll get to the right spot. It's a typo from the author of the article. But yeah, that image is still there.
Yeah, and there's no argument on that. That is most definitely that's a stealth fighter. Or stealth boomer. And I say boomer on purpose. If you don't know why, just ask another Foogle fan member. It says over 50 comments from the fans of the application have been posted on the forum, comparing the find to the current row between China and the U.S. over Taiwan. It said one user says this is the reason for the amount of satellite launches from China. Another added, the U.S. already operates its MiG-23s under the YF-113 designation. Presumably, if we move them from testing into active service, they'll become the F-113, heralding the glorious return of the Century series. Also, being designated F-11X makes them stealthy. A third wrote, Chinese counterintelligence strategy. And then it says, you can see the active camouflage artifacts when viewed from above. I didn't think about that, but it's like a 3D thing. It kind of looks like a 3D movie with the red and green and blue. One thing I will say is this on purpose? Most likely. They're not hiding this. Google goes through, and once somebody finds this, they would hide it right away. There's no, this isn't a new ship, so there's no, I don't think they're worried about this. There's plenty of stealth boomers.
No, but it's also proving a new way that you can detect them, right? So obviously, if you have satellite technology, you can scan the skies and find them on the way in and then track them where they couldn't normally be seen, at least from traditional radar standpoint.
Yeah.
But you can see them from visual eye or from a visual satellite eye, so to speak, right?
Well, especially when it's contrasted. This is a dark gray black plane. If it's over the ocean, that would be a whole lot harder. But when it's over a light beige crop, you're going to see the thing. So, yeah, that's flexing too. I mean, it looks a lot like what we've seen before, but that could be new technology. You never know. They put new technology into the same kind of package. We've seen that many times. In fact, there's how many iterations of these stealth boomers. So they're definitely flexing. But a lot of people are conflicted right now because people think, our president is in certain person's pocket, right? He very well could sit on the sidelines and have an apartment set up in a ghost city. He might have a rooftop bungalow set up for after it all goes down. Who knows? Just saying. You're assuming that people care for human life. Hypersonic strike aircraft capability is part of the Air Force's shadowy Project Mayhem. Sorry, but the project name in itself is freaky. It says the Air Force wants this hypersonic platform to be able to carry out strike and intelligence gathering missions with one of 3 different payloads. Dex, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, sure, Adam. So, basically there's been a lot of research and development going on in Skunk Works and other places like Skunk Works at Lockheed Martin that have been doing hypersonic vehicles and doing it for the purposes of transporting or other types of activities. And I guess what they were doing in the past was trying to build platforms and try to understand what the needs were going to be. But now we've got it to the point where the development is absolutely necessary, and they know that they want to move payloads, people, payloads, even weaponry or weapons fired in the sky at these great speeds. So building these, investing in this is something that we've been doing probably in secret. We'll continue to do it in secret, and there's no telling how much of this tech we have already versus how much of this is just on paper and or in prototypes, but not necessarily in full scale sort of production. Obviously it's not in public production because nobody has seen anything like this, but a lot of this stuff is starting to come out, and Project Mayhem is one of those projects that's getting a lot of FOIA information or other information coming out that allows us to sort of see what they may or may not be spending the money on.
Yeah, there's a ton of news about hypersonics, and of course we're going to talk about a story here in a second, which is not good news for the U.S. In fact, I believe it's going to be up next.
And to contrast, just keep in mind, we've talked about hypersonic missiles, which are launched right from the ground or in some cases from other vehicles. And then we've talked about and Russia obviously seems to have the lead on that. At least that's what we've been reporting publicly. Doesn't mean we might not have something we just haven't announced yet. But the other one is the glide vehicle. And just keep in mind, a glide vehicle that China was using isn't necessarily hypersonic in the sense that it took off from a runway and got up to hypersonic speed. It got there from being in orbit, and then it was able to come down at a hypersonic speed and control its glide at that speed so that it could then perform maneuvers and go after a target. So what we're talking about here are actually building planes with these advanced engines, Scram and Ram and other things that go extremely fast and can reach those hypersonic speeds from a plane.
Now, that's another thing that people talk about Starlink being used for. They added sensors as part of this grid that's supposedly going to be around the world. Certain ones out of that. So if you pick, every 6, 7, 8, whatever is going to be a hypersonic sensor. So it's not just for internet. It's also for a defense system. And it's going to be on the U.S. side. That's one thing that I think that I guess we will have an advantage of. But how do we know, if China's not doing the same thing? Like that commenter on that last story, they said, why do you think China is launching all of these satellites? Why is China building a multi-mile structure in space? Or that's what they say they're doing, right? So pretty crazy stuff, if you ask me. As far as these hypersonic vehicles, of course, we just covered recently, China is making a 10-person hypersonic vehicle that can basically get anywhere I think in an hour. It could get around the world. So pretty nuts. What's bad, though, is when they use that for weapons. Go ahead.
Exactly. And Adam, I was going to say, I've mentioned it a few times on the show, scramjets. And a lot of folks have asked, what is a scramjet? Or if they don't understand. In this article, there's a good YouTube video. I think it's one of the space channels or something that probably owns copyright, so we're not playing it. But if you want to learn how the scramjet works, there's a good, informative video in there you can go look at in that article.
But seeing the actual, Operation Mayhem, that just doesn't sound good to me. A portion of the new Mayhem-related contracting document with the hypersonic multi-mission ISR and strike. That's freaky. So maybe this is, I guess, this also could be in response to, of course, other things that they know about that they're not talking about. Either way, I want to say thank you. Joseph Newhouse says, "Hey, I made a video about Don't Look Up in Metaverse with a few articles from the previous show. Just so you know, I've been like waiting. I forgot. It's actually, this month has been flying by. I think Don't Look comes out on the 24th. I may be wrong. If it came out the 21st, that would be awesome because I would love to watch that tonight. If you have not seen the trailer for Don't Look Up, I've explained it before, but essentially it's a hypothetical with Leonardo DiCaprio where they discover a comet coming towards Earth. The freaky part is they are in some sort of chorusing with NASA. They were tweeting NASA's DART mission, which is essentially a test of a rocket that went out and is supposed to, impact into a meteor. And then Don't Look Up, NASA actually tweeted Don't Look Up. And Don't Look Up is a movie that's made by a famous director, Adam McKay, who is known for doing his based on real events movies. And in the movie, in the trailer, it says based on real events, ... that haven't happened, ... and then yet. That's not enough. In the actual trailer, they show parts of the movie and they're talking about how the White House just said, we'll sit and assess, basically sitting on their thumbs and spinning, right? Well, then they show another scene, which is a comedy scene where they're all they're talking about how much these meteors are worth. And the one guy goes, well, who cares if it's worth trillions of dollars if we're all dead? And I think back of the last 3 years, how all of a sudden, all of these people are talking about, and all of these agencies are talking about, how can we get these meteors? They're worth trillions of dollars. So did we find one that's on a 100% path? And if so, would they tell us? Or would they set up, and then, and how many articles and how many studies have been done? How many drills have been done? I forgot to mention in my earlier list, the New York, FEMA and NASA did a test together trying to evacuate all of New York. They did a simulation and it failed horribly. Essentially what they found from the simulation is they would not be able to get the city evacuated. They totally failed. And they even had like a certain amount of hours. It was like 15 hours or amount of days or something. And they said that they failed horribly. So what are they preparing for? Why does Elon Musk say that, everyone needs to have more children for humanity to survive? Basically saying, are we going to lose a bunch? Why does the Deagle report say that we're going to lose 2/3 of our population in all the allied countries? Why did, of course, Elon Musk, why does he say that, we have to go to Mars? The best chance for humanity is to have a 2-planet system. People just take this as, he's eccentric. No. Something's up. He is the most government-connected entity that is saying things, and it's like they're telling us but not telling us. And who knows? It might all be propaganda. But it's certainly freaky. Survival Living. Hey, if you guys haven't checked out Survival Living, he worked his butt off to get where he is at. He's at like 25,000 plus subscribers. Congratulations on everything for that you've done. Make sure to go check him out. Bible Talk for Common People says the world is run by evil and it's everywhere. Leaders programming movies and schools. Satan is trying to save himself. The king is coming. Bank it. And then Steph Fran says Earth's protective shield is weakening. That's why all the governments are preparing. I've been studying the sun for over 10 years. This is a fact, not BS. Again, I don't know. I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to say that. But again, somebody will say I'm saying that, right? Steph Fran, that would not surprise me. And my big question is, why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they doing these things? Why are they coming up with all these things? Why are they doing all these drills? Osiris-Rex, Hayabusa. Every country in the world is trying to get to the moon. All of a sudden, countries that have never had a space, agency now do. That's freaking weird. Why? Frederick Swords and Diane Moses, again, thank you. All right, real quick, see here. A word from Tom Homan, former ICE director.
My name is Tom Homan. I'm the former ICE director under President Donald Trump. and I'm here to ask America to wake up. You can protect yourself, and at the same time protect this great nation. The threat of electromagnetic pulse is real, EMP. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's a matter of life and death. I recently partnered with a Midwest company, veteran-owned, that has developed a device you can hook up to your home or your vehicle to protect you against an EMP. I highly encourage you to go to EMPshield.com and research this device. Again, it will protect you, in the long term, protect this great nation. Thank you.
Obviously, crazy stuff there. If you do want to go through us on EMP Shield, again, this is a device that can protect you against all three phases of an EMP. This helps protect you, and it helps our show. You end up getting a huge discount, a $50 discount. Plus, they are still doing their Christmas sale, which is a stacking sale. Any of their sales around the year will always be on top of our guaranteed $50 off. That is something that many affiliates do not offer. Ours do. So again, that's a stacking offer. So you'll get that $50 off, plus you'll get their Christmas sale, which can be up to $50 off depending on how many devices you get. It starts out at $20, I believe. So at least $70 off per device, which is a huge discount. This is the biggest sale since Black Friday. It also protects you against CMEs and the natural kind. If a Carrington level event happens, this was tested on actually higher voltage than that, up to 228,000 amps. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. There's no better time to prepare than yesterday. I don't know why people wait until something's broken to fix it, but you can answer that in the comments below. Thank you again. I appreciate you guys for going through us. That helps us. It helps you. And again, it helps your favorite show. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. And then the next piece is the third test. So this is what I was talking about. This is the next piece of this kind of bad puzzle. Now, I don't know if the U.S. is just saying that they're failing, if this is some sort of like long game, or if it's propaganda or what. But if you believe what they say, and I'm always taking everything with a grain of salt, it seems like our third hypersonic weapons test has failed again. It says third test of the Air Force's hypersonic weapon has failed like the ones before it. We have not had a success yet, apparently, in these three tests. It says the Air Force had hoped to conduct 3 successful tests of the AGM-183 this year so it could enter service in 2022. They wanted it now. They wanted this system now. And again, it is not ready. It says and that's another freaky thing if you think about the story we just covered, as far as some experts, analysts, and intelligence chiefs are saying that Russia may take Ukraine on Christmas Eve. The reason why they've also invaded, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan on Christmas Eve about 30 or 40 years ago. So it would be an anniversary for them, but also it is logistically, I would assume it would be a good time as far as for their country or for people that are inside and with their families and whatever else. I don't know. I wonder if there's any other reasons beyond that, right? It says the U.S. Air Force has failed for a third time to conduct a successful test of the rocket booster on a prototype AGM-183A air-launched rapid response weapon. It says this is a hypersonic missile, or Arrow. This can only add to the palatable frustration within the service, as well as elsewhere in the U.S. military and in Congress, about the progress or lack thereof in the testing of various new hypersonic weapons. So it is not looking good for our hypersonics program. Meanwhile, if we take, if we give them the benefit of the doubt, Russia apparently already has this down, and China already has this down. In fact, China has a fractal orbital bombardment system, which already was tested and was successful, and it broke the laws of physics, according to some experts. They essentially had a vehicle, a hypersonic vehicle, or a hypersonic object that was able to launch another hypersonic object. They've never seen something like it. to be at hypersonic speed and then to launch something else separately that would go and then it hit it within about 20 miles of its target. Big deal if it was something that could, take out a whole city. That's pretty bad. Or take out a whole state. Now the power of some of these things. Pretty crazy stuff. And this is not good news for anybody if it's true. I don't know why. I don't know if the U.S. is behind, but I'll see the same people saying that, the administration before last tore apart our entire military, got rid of NASA, took down and tore apart several ships and reduced our military and said, world peace and everything. And some people, the same people that are saying, oh, it was on purpose and they were reducing stuff, they say that we're still ahead. Which is it? Did previous administrations screw us over and reduce our military and reduce our spending and world peace and cut programs and do all that? Sign in, executive orders. Did they do all that? And then, of course, but yes, they're still ahead. Are they truly 30 years ahead in the secret stuff, right? And is China and Russia also 30 years ahead? People assume that, because we're America, we have the smartest people. I just want to remind you of some of the last names that have invented or come up with some of the biggest creations in the world. They're not all exactly Smith or Bob Thompson. So it really is who you have as far as the brains.
So Adam, over the past week, I've talked to a few folks that have high security clearance, or I guess you'd say top secret type clearance, that work in defense contracting positions with these major companies that you would assume are building these things. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But and they didn't tell me anything they couldn't. But what they said, and they tend to toe the similar line that we hear from a lot of people, is don't worry, we've got tech that's far better than what they have. And it just gets me wondering, why would we put out, if that's true, why are we putting out information about these failures, right? If they're saying, we're light years ahead of them, we've got, all sorts of hypersonic stuff, nobody knows about it because we can't talk about it and it's not public, right? Then why are we, failing repeatedly and putting this public message out? Who's telling the truth or who's not? Or is this kit coming out for a specific purpose to make us look like we don't have something when we do?
Yeah, I don't understand it. What would be the propaganda reason for us to do this other than we have it actually top secret and nobody knows about it? Unless they know, the U.S. knows that China and Russia actually know what they have. But with how China and Russia have been, China would just call them out publicly and be like, why don't you tell them about your real hypersonics? Especially how they talked about the submarine, tell them what you were really doing in the South China Sea. There's weird stuff that's going on, and we're always the last to know. Civilians are the last to know. Divine 1122, light of love and happy winter solstice, Marfoogle fam. It's an amazing time to be alive. Divine 1122, I always love your comments because you always have to add that in every show. It is an amazing time to be alive. No matter what is happening, wouldn't you want to be alive to see it? Something just absolutely insane is better than a boring life, watching paint dry. It's definitely an interesting life to be lived right now. Battleborn 111, and we could die tomorrow. It's just every morning I wake up, I think about that, and I think most people don't. They don't. Maybe you haven't had enough close calls with death. I have several car accidents, several times where I felt like an angel must have saved me. And you just wake up every day really thankful and really, really just humbly thankful for just being here. Holiday Kisser, Life is Better on Stilts is in the house. Thank you for gifting out 5 Marfia badges over on DLive. The DLive D-Love crew is in the house. 5150 Gonzo, WJS Jen. We've got Chance Paladin and Jammer and Gem in their modding. Hopinson is in the house, Bear Claws. And, of course, Robert 46. Really, haven't seen you in a minute. Denny Markham, thank you for the lemon. MJ1979, Dixie Doe, Life is Better on Stilts, again, thank you. Dixie Doe, JMB53, Unicorn 1313, thank you, and thank you. And then Divine 1122, thank you so much for going a step above and doing a Ninja Genie. I appreciate that. All right, and then Gas Electric, I didn't miss you either. Over there, seriously, every lemon counts. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I try to call out pretty much everyone I see. Thank you guys for supporting us. And then Saudi Arabian potential terrorist nabbed at the U.S.-Mexico border. It says ties to many subjects of interest, feds say. See, this puts things in the back of your head. This goes mainstream, and in the back of your head, you go, oh, Saudi Arabia, potential T nabbed at U.S.-Mexico border. If you remember, this country was found to be responsible for September of 2001. In fact, almost all of the passengers, or whatever the T, were Saudis. Dex, what do you think about this as far as, do you think that this is just for the subconscious for you to keep in the back of your brain until something happens, or what do you think?
Yeah, well, the first thing that gets me thinking is how many didn't get put in the newspaper, right? How many didn't make it into the news? How many made it through and we know nothing about? And that probably has happened quite a bit. We know it's happened statistically. They've told us it can be very large, and even those that are coming from those countries that are highly suspect have a high rate of potentially being sleepers. We've talked about that too. So, what really bothers me is just, if the numbers that are coming across are significant, which they have been, then the statistics of the probability that some people in those groups are like what we're reading here are probably very high. And obviously they're not getting captured, because the ones that are getting captured, they're writing articles about.
Do you think that there's just one? That's my question. And
no,
then
there's plenty more that have come across.
Well, we know,
can't imagine,
and that's just from that country. We have a lot of enemies. And again, they're not supposed to be, but that's what there's. And that also, that would be more like Fantastic Freddy territory. Joseph Newhouse, Amanda Evanson, Joseph Newhouse, thanks again. I do want to see your video on don't look down, or don't look up. That is something that really interests me. Amanda Evanson, Austria hired trackers to hunt down the uneducated. That is freaky. Yeah. Don't know what the hell they're doing. That is absolutely bonkers. But don't, we're 2 weeks or one press conference away from doing the same thing. I'm telling you, people think that we're above whatever the rest of the world is doing. No. If all they need is a certain event and flip the switch. Think about, just 2 weeks, guys, 2 weeks. Our whole world changed. And any part of the world that didn't change, Survival Living, thank you. That Gen X dude, look it up, by the way. Every country that didn't go along with everything, just so you're clear that, somebody explain it if people don't know what that means. I'm not using Cool Whip. You get it. And, of course, Bible Talk for Common People. Again, thank you. I appreciate that. Survival Living, thank you. And then Russia plotting Christmas Eve invasion with 100,000 troops amassing on Ukraine borders. So this is going over and a little bit more in detail. This is the article I was talking about in my cell phone video. It says intelligence chiefs have warned ministers of a, quote, very real possibility Russia could invade Ukraine on Christmas Eve. It would coincide with the 42nd anniversary of the Soviet Union's ill-fated invasion of Afghanistan. Up to 100,000 Russian troops are massed on the border. Both the Ministry of Defense and the Foreign Office refused to comment on what action the UK might take in the event of a Russian invasion. So here was the positive part. Colonel Richard Kemp, a former commander in Afghanistan, said, quote, there is no possibility of direct military intervention by the UK, NATO, or US troops in the event of a Russian attack against Ukraine. So it is his opinion that there's no way we would get involved. But as well, he is a former commander. The current commanders are saying otherwise. It says the most likely option is diplomatic and economic sanctions, which they're saying we're going to make you broke, or we're going to take all of these things from you if you maim and murder people. We're going to hurt your pocket. Not exactly kind of the tough guy thing that probably the last president would have done, but the most likely option is diplomatic and economic sanctions. It says, quote, the invasion force consists of thousands of ground troops, tanks, attack helicopters, artillery, and anti-aircraft regiments. Both the UK and US have warned Vladimir Putin inset he would face serious consequences. Sorry, they actually had a typo there. It says on Friday, Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said Ukraine was not a member of NATO, and so the concept of collective defense did not apply. So essentially saying that it is not. It said it is highly unlikely anyone is going to send troops into Ukraine and challenge Russia. The Ukrainians are aware of this. It says, and then it says, when asked directly if a Russian invasion would lead up to a new world war, Lupatina said, quote, yeah, because geopolitically it looks like this is a possible scenario. So we should pay attention to the Ukrainian issue because of the security of the continent. And then some other, the Lupatina gentleman actually said that it seemed, it says Vladimir Putin's dream of reclaiming the territory that once belonged to the USSR is almost certainly sure to end in a military conflict. With U.S. forces sworn to support Ukraine, a superpower standoff seems almost inevitable. So is this all going to come up to a peak and then go back down? What is your opinion? I would love to hear it in the chat. In fact, I'm gonna take a poll right now, and I'm gonna turn on the chat box. I'm gonna ask you: do you think that Ukraine will lead to a WW3? 1 being yes, and 2 being no, or 3 being maybe. So 1 being yes, 2 being no, and 3 being maybe. Will Ukraine taking it over lead to WW3? Do you think that this is going to be the kickoff event? 1 for yes, 2 for maybe. 2 for no, 3 for maybe. That is actually a surprising amount of 1s, a lot of 2s though, and a lot of 3s. I would say the majority are 1 and 3s. Faith W, it's going so fast. Summer, what's going on? Heidi, Golf, Big Chief. We've got Able-Bodied in the house. Virginia, what's going on? Nikki. We've got S. Nort, love it. And then Sharon, thank you. Live Free, Anna Trejos, old school. Hugh, what's going on? Sybin, Gail, Neil, Old Rider, John Old, Glass, Android Architect, what's going on? Thursday's Child. Yeah, that's incredible. Sparky's Run, love you, Marf and Dex. Keep the truth bombs coming. And then Kimberly, thank you for sharing truth. Kelly Simmons, thank you for your massive support. That is really appreciated. So pretty clear. It seems like it's mostly 1 and 3. I would say if we did an actual percentage, I'd say 70% say yes or maybe. So probably a whole lot of no's. That's actually a huge chunk. Probably more than half say no. Putin flunky warns Russia will put gun to America's head as tensions grow. Dex, I'll let you cover this one.
Yeah, no problem. So again, the rhetoric coming from the other side there. So, what's happening is a lot of media. We talked about the media covering and preparing the population, for a conflict. And even in recent days, we've seen more of them talking about nuclear as well. But what they're talking about here specifically is just that, if if Ukraine joins NATO, if NATO allows them in, then Russia will in effect have to hold a bang bang to America. In other words, take it to the most serious level to prevent that from happening. So, and it sounds like they're really talking strong in the rhetoric here that they absolutely do not under any circumstances want to see Ukraine join NATO.
Yeah, that would not be good. And of course, we've explained it in previous videos, but if Ukraine joins NATO, that means NATO and allied forces would be able to move missile defenses, would be able to move pretty much anything into Ukraine on Russia's border. It would essentially be like if there was an RATO, a RATO, and Russia moved into Mexico and put missile defenses, on the border of Mexico and on the border of the U.S., or put it in Canada. Like Canada all of a sudden joined RATO, right? So they don't want that. There are two sides to this coin. There's two sides of the story. There's, of course, there's a logical reason why he doesn't want them to join. But why is he amassing his troops then? Ukraine is not a threat to them, but NATO would be. That's what weirds me out about this, Dex, is like, do we have forces that are already there? Like, what are we doing to them? How would this be manufactured on on the end of Ukraine's end? Because why would they amass 100,000 people there unless they were just doing it to punk them or something? That's why I believe that they're going to take it.
Right. It doesn't seem to be like a quote unquote drill. And by the way, in this article, and this is a newer article, and it's from, I think, the New York Post.
175.
They raised the number to 175,000 troops. So, but yeah, the person Dmitry Keslev is a Putin confidant and head of basically state-controlled media outlet Rosoya, and the head of the state-controlled media outlet Rosoya Segadanya. Are the ones that were saying this, basically saying that, if Ukraine ever joins NATO or if NATO develops military infrastructure there, that we will hold a bang bang to America's head. We have the military capability. And that's a new statement coming out from, the mouthpiece of the media for Russia.
Yeah, and this article, like it says, Putin said Moscow needs long-term, legally binding guarantees from the West and the U.S. and NATO that they will not deploy missile systems in Ukraine, rather than verbal assurances like JB saying, oh, no, sure, yeah, I'll write that down somewhere. Yeah. Russia has massed, and this is where it says, this is a bigger source saying this, as many as 175,000 troops, as well as heavy military equipment on its western border with Ukraine, a move that many fear is a prelude to invasion as early as next month.
He also said Russia has the best weapons in the world, hypersonic ones, and they'd reach America as fast as U.S. or British weapons could reach Moscow from the Ukraine. So in other words, if we took our conventional stuff to Ukraine, which is what they don't want to happen, they're saying their hypersonics can leave Russia and get to the U.S. faster than we can get to Moscow, even from the Ukraine. And they also said it would be the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again, but with a shorter flight time for the missiles.
Wow. It's like and do they have like a system if they launch these things? Obviously, they would be able to cancel it, Do they have the red phone, right? Or do we not have a red phone? We've covered a story that talked about this. Did we close down the red phone, or do we still have the Russian phone from JB to Putin?
Well, I don't know. It took him a long time to get one up and running between him and G. Remember that? We reported that this year.
That's right. Did they ended up opening it, correct? They opened a direct line?
They created some sort of line between him and G, but I would assume they probably had to do the same thing with Russia.
I would think that it would just be
technology.
I would think that it was just President Joe's cell phone. Hey, happy birthday, buddy. Yeah, I got you some Winnie Pooh slippers.
Yeah, they're already on speed dial, right?
Yep. Well, cell phones don't really have speed dial. That's something
Sorry, favorite contacts.
that's something an old person would say. Speed dial, you're number 2. Who's number 1? Your sister.
You're about to get removed from my speed dial.
Don't do it. If you fall and you can't get back up, I want to be on there. Sorry. All right. Kelly Simmons, thank you again. I appreciate that. Paul, I appreciate you as well. I've fallen and I can't get up. Oh man, that commercial still cracks me up. And before we talk about Russian warship mysteriously engulfed in fire, this is what I said. I think maybe a shot over the bow, maybe not the first shot of a conflict, but very well maybe the next move in something. It definitely looks like sabotage to me, and I'll show you why. There's a lot more to that story than meets the eye. Before that, though, I do want to do a plug for My Patriot Supply. This is a great thing. It has essentially a one-stop shop for everything prep-related, but specifically, they have long-term survival food. If you do not have anything set up, then this is a great way to go because it's packaged up so you basically have everything you need. So in fact, most cases, just add water type of thing. One thing that you should have as well is water purification. You can also get that here. You can get the Alexa Pure Pro. In fact, they have survival gear. They have battery banks. They have everything. It is literally a one-stop shop for pretty much everything prep. First aid, medical stuff. You've got survival books, fuel and lighters. You even have iodine pills for in the very rare case of nuclear disaster. So remember, you can go to marfooglenews.com/prep. In some cases, you'll get a discount. In all cases, you'll help the show. And again, you help us, we help you, and you have that. Now, not everybody has the funds to just go out and get this kind of stuff. I highly recommend getting yourself a water purification system or figuring out how to make one. You need water and you need food. If you can't afford something like the long-term prepared buckets and things like this, then you need to look at channels like Alaska Prepper and others that try to teach you how to do it on a budget. There are ways to do it. It takes a little bit more work, but you can do it, and you don't have to go and do this again, but you might not get the same result. I appreciate all of you that have gone over and supported through this. Again, the prices on these things are only going up. They're not going down. Best time to buy these things was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. The prices have steadily gone up. This is almost, I would almost say it's an investment because the prices are going to go up, but I don't think you have too much luck reselling prep food. But who knows? Maybe in today's market you would. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Thank you guys for supporting. Again, make sure to go check them out. What was that, Dex?
You said EMP. I said prep/prep.
Oh, thank you. marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, and then we have Russian warship mysteriously engulfed in fire. So there's many things attached to this that we have actually put some tweets. We're going to put that over on the website. Dex, you do have the original tweets on there, or if not, can we add those?
Yeah, we'll add.
Okay. And then it's that video that we are seeing a screenshot of says Russia drone captures heavy smoke coming from fire in St. Petersburg. Now, in St. Petersburg, what is on fire is one of their Russian warships. It says a nearly complete Russian warship under construction in St. Petersburg was engulfed in flames on Friday night. The cause of the devastating fire is still unknown. The Russian corvette of Project 20385, known as Provorny or Agile, mysteriously caught fire on Friday at the Severnaya Verf shipyard. The fire broke out as the ship was nearing completion. And of course, there's a lot of questions. Videos of the fire began to circulate Friday night, showing the raging fire. EHA News tweeted the second corvette of Project 20385 Proverny was being built at Severnaya has caught fire. The ship was supposed to be delivered to the Russian fleet in Kamchatka at the end of 2022. Some sources said that it was due to be complete as little as 4 weeks. So you could see if there was intelligence on, say, an enemy's wire saying, hey, we've only got a month before this thing goes out. We should probably try to sabotage it now. The reason I'm saying sabotage is we have seen now several of these events. In fact, we even found more. And actually, I did mention on my first video about how China had an amphibious warship catch fire in port and burn for 5 straight days. This was a very specific kind of military Navy ship. It was an amphibious assault carrier. So what it has is it's like a mini carrier, but it also has the open back end for boats and things to be launched out the back of it for more amphibious vehicles or kind of D-Day type vehicles to launch out the back. It has water that it's kind of like where it has a hollow hole and it can empty out. That caught fire. Then, a few months later, a U.S. amphibious assault carrier, the same exact type of ship, only on the U.S. side, in a U.S. port, caught fire for 5 days. And the story on our end was that it was a TikToker and he was some sort of, genius, evil genius, and he lit the thing on fire and he used accelerants and all this. And if you see the kid does not look capable of picking his nose. So that's what they said was the narrative for that. Kind of like a Ruby, like a Jack Ruby or whatever. What did he call Patsies? Then I ran to the store. They had their ships on fire in port. As early as 2019, the one that I did not know about is 2019, before the Chinese, before the U.S., Russia had their first ever carrier, catch fire before completion in port. And now we have Russia once again having their newly about to be finished assault vehicle on fire. Is this a space weapon? Do you know what I mean? Or is this something else? Is this a sabotage? Was this a long game where did spies, sleeper cells join their military and then go in and do this? I guess we won't know yet, but we'll follow this and I will follow this because I want to know what they, find in their investigations. Dex, what do you think about this?
Well, it's certainly suspect, right? I mean, even the I ran to the store issue was in port with ships, but also don't forget they had their one military ship that sank, and it did because it caught on fire, right? So all of these that are happening and have happened, it's just it's very insightful to and you want to sort of put the pieces together and see what you can make from it, because it just doesn't seem like a natural coincidence that all of this is happening back and forth.
Yeah, that's for sure. And some think that this may have been a kind of a first strike. Secretly, Russia would know that somebody did this, if they know who did this. And if it was hypothetically the U.S., and they could prove it, this would be something that would start a conflict or at least continue on. This is why I wonder, though, if we're already at conflict with all the hacks, with all the system damages, all the satellite testing, and all the weird events happening above, and Space Force commanders, two high-ranking officials in the Space Force said that there is a conflict going on above us. They just straight up said we are in a war up above us, a space war. I wonder if this is part of that. If some of these other things, one thing that really comes to mind is Beirut. But again, that's just speculation. Hey, Adam, people in chat are inquiring about a backpack giveaway. Is that still happening? Yes, it is. We're trying to figure out how we would do it. By the way, We will be doing that on the other channel. I didn't have time to do that because it did hit 200,000. But I would say make sure to subscribe to Marfoogle News. That's essentially the only requirement as of now. I think maybe I don't know if we're able to say like comment or whatever. We have to look at the rules. The reason why is there's very specific rules about that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure we do it right. It will actually be a choice of one of the duffel bags, which has everything in it, and or the backpack, which is really sick. I would personally choose the backpack, but I don't know. The duffel bag is really awesome too, because it's one big bag that you could throw 10 laptops in, and it would be safe from EMP. It's safe from being tracked. It's safe from everything. It is a go bag. It would be a perfect go bag because it would be, protected against that. So thank you, Ilea. Thank you for asking. Again, we need to figure that out. And then Tristan Early says, love and light. Sparky's Run. Love you, Marf and Dex. Keep the moms coming. Now, remember, you do have to, that's for the other channel hitting 200. This one, we will do a very similar one when we hit 200 over here. But make sure to go do that over there. And the reason why I don't think you have to be, there's like no purchase necessary or whatever, but the only way I'll know how to pick is if you're one of the people, subscribe. Otherwise, how will I know you're there? All right. And then, pretty crazy stuff there. And then I ran to the stores. Revolutionary Guard holds military drill amid tension. Paramilitary Revolutionary Guard staged a major military exercise across the country south on Monday amid heightened tensions over Tehran's nuclear program. The Guard's aerospace division, ground troops, and naval forces joined in the 5-day drill, the report said, with maritime forces set to maneuver in the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Now, if you know anything about kind of the rumors that have floated around for 10, 15 years online, a strait of any kind, Strait of Hormuz. What was the other one that the gentleman mentioned in that video? After we took the 7 countries down, we would start, WW3 with a Fantastic Freddy. Was it the Strait of Hormuz? I'm trying to remember. Or the Strait of something. I believe it was the Strait of Hormuz. Was specifically mentioned. So anything that has the Strait of Hormuz or Strait of, I am listening and I'm paying attention very intently. It says the narrow gateway for about 20% of the world's traded oil. I believe that is the one that we were talking about. It says the exercise comes days after talks to revive tattered nuclear deal with world powers broke up in Vienna. Iran to the store has accelerated its nuclear advances as negotiations to return to the accord struggle to make headway. Alarming is and other regional rivals. Now remember, is actually preparing and drilling, taking out their stuff. They are preparing with Air Force, and they have massive drills with massive amounts of course, equipment. So is preparing to possibly take out targets in I ran to the store, and of course now is doing major drills to do the same. So we have multiple fronts. We have these 2 countries. We have Ukraine and Russia, and we have China and Taiwan. What are the odds that all 3 are just all going to back down and everybody's going to kiss and make up? Probably pretty low. Any of these 3 could be the trigger. We are of course allies with one of these countries, so not too good. What is your opinion? Let me know down below. Thank you again over on DLive. I appreciate everybody over there. Thank you, Divine1122 and Peepaw's Dead says best hopes to you all for the new year. Cynthia Lynn. Holy moly. Cynthia Lynn just dropped a Ninjet over on DLive, which is the highest compliment you can bestow on somebody over on DLive. Can I get a Cynthia Lynn or a CL in the chat? Cynthia Lynn. Thank you. It says, miss the Foogle fam. God bless all and have a Merry Christmas. WW. G1. WGA. And then we've got Peepaw, really, Maui Racing Realtor says, aloha, Foogle fam, Adam, Dex, Mods, Christmas 111. And then T-Man Red Pill, thank you for the diamond. I appreciate that. And Lady Green Eyes, thank you everybody that has supported over there on DLive. And then China's top influencer was fined $210 million and erased online. This is part of kind of a bigger story that we've been covering is not only has China cut out English speaking in their country, they have cut out all of the English speaking schools, which most of the people that were living there on a foreign visa were teaching English. But on top of that, they have cut out Western culture. They've cut out idolization. As far as looking up to somebody as an idol, they don't want that. And this is not the first, and it won't be the last. Almost all of their national stars are now getting chopped down or fined. Dex, this is pretty crazy because they basically fined her to where they took her net worth and they were like, we're taking all of it back. And then they erased her online.
Yeah, I mean, just gone. Like everything she did now just gone.
Imagine that.
It's almost like being canceled, but not done by like a whole bunch of people. It's just the government says, you're done.
Yeah, imagine like Elon Musk not only losing every platform he has, but then they're like, oh, we're going to fine you $200 billion or whatever your net worth is. That's what this is like. I mean, this is. She was a national icon. She's one of the most famous people in China, and they just erased her off the internet and fined her for what I assume would be her net worth. How would she have more than that? I mean, I that's huge. That's huge money. It says China's top e-commerce influencer Heng Wei, commonly known as Via, was fined 1.3 billion RMB or $210 million for tax evasion, the local taxation authority said Monday, and her social media accounts, which have been more than 120 million followers combined, 120 million followers. This is bigger than PewDiePie, have been taken down. It says in recent years, Via has emerged as a powerful force in live stream e-commerce, a new shopping method that has taken China by storm and dwarfed traditional e-commerce activities. On the evening of October 20 alone, Via sold $1.3 billion worth of products in her live stream. She also has become an entertainment celebrity, even performing for the most important national holiday celebration. Among all live stream influencers, Via not only stood out for her sales numbers, but also for how closely she has aligned with China's government. She was co-opted as a member of All China Youth Federation and won a National Poverty Alleviation Award for the voluntary work she has done in promoting Chinese rural e-commerce products. According to Zhejiang Provincial Tax Service, from 2019 to 2020, Via failed to report taxes mounting to $110 million. Her $210 million fine included the unpaid taxes, late fees, and penalties. So wait a second. Okay, how did she sold $1.3 billion? But that's not. Does she get a commission on? I don't know what this e-commerce sales is. Is this like QVC on the web or something? But it's in every home. And
she probably just got a small commission off of that. So I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money, but she didn't necessarily make 1.3 billion.
Well, no, but even if she ordered, even if she made like 10% or 5% or something for a commission, like that's insanity. But they fined her basically $100 million more than that. I mean, like that's weird. I'm almost curious to see what her net worth is. Is she a billionaire? Which again, China has surpassed pretty much every country in making billionaires. They had more billionaires produced in China than anywhere else, and then they reversed that. They reversed capitalism, reversed a whole lot of stuff. So very crazy. And then Chinese spies have penetrated Taiwan's military, according to case documents. It says Taipei, for more than 20 years, Xi Zhang presented himself as a Hong Kong businessman on visits to Taiwan. He now stands accused of having another mission, recruiting spies for China. On one trip in 2006, Xi met a senior retired Taiwanese Navy officer, Chang Pi-ning, over a meal, according to official documents accusing the pair of espionage. Chang would become one of Xi's agents, the documents allege, helping him penetrate Taiwan's active military leadership as part of a long-running Chinese operation to build a spy ring among the serving and retired military officers. The Taiwanese officers and their families were allegedly lured by Zi's offer of all expenses paid trips abroad, thousands of dollars in cash payments, and gifts such as silk scarves and belts for their wives. Sounds like more like NK, right? It says in 2019, in June, counter-espionage officers moved against Zi's network, launching raids that uncovered further evidence, according to the documents, which were reviewed by Reuters. Now Chang is facing espionage charges, and a warrant has been issued for the arrest of Xi. According to a person familiar with the case, Xi is not in Taiwan. The operation detailed how these documents show how Beijing allegedly sought out commanders in the Taiwan military and induced them into become spies. So China, one of China's specialties is penetration and espionage. I mean, they go in and they go get in the inside. That's why a lot of people think that, you know, maybe our top guy was placed, right? That's a theory, right? And that he's in somebody's pocket, possibly a very GE people kind of person. So with all the hacks and everything else going on, that's more China's speed. They're not too much up front. They sneak in the back door and they find out everything they can. That's what alarms people right now. Dex, do you have a comment on this as far as it's not good for a takeover? I mean, like, it seems like we're lining up Ukraine, Russia, and then China, and of course Taiwan and Iran and Israel. All of them are lining up at the same time.
Well, I would just, go back to looking at what happened in Hong Kong, right, where they infiltrated the political system and put in sympathetic candidates towards China, and then basically ousted everybody that was there over time. And now they just had another election just recently, in the last few days, I think. And guess what? Everybody that was, friendly to China, also out of the blue, just unanimously won, right? So it's not like that stuff is really fair and free, and so yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's so obvious that people know it was rigged, but sounds familiar, huh? What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about something I can't remember. What is a section? No, it rhymed with that. Yeah, I can't remember. In the meantime, the same bag that I was talking about with Ilea, as far as what we are going to be giving away, will be an off-grid bag. This company was originally called EDEC. Now it is off-grid because now, instead of, it was working a lot with FBI and CIA and all sorts of agencies like this, because basically these are great evidence bags. They were using this as in FBI to protect agents like laptops and all of their stuff from being hacked into. What these do is, one, they basically protect any signals going in or out. So there's no Wi-Fi reception, no satellite reception, nothing. When it is in these bags, they go off-grid, and hence the name off-grid. Again, these are extremely high quality. These are basically military grade or FBI level quality, and they are absolutely awesome. Again, we will be giving away one of the backpacks that was pictured earlier, or one of the duffel bags. These things are absolutely mind-blowingly high quality. So make sure to go check them out. Go to marfooglenews.com/offgrid and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Not only will you save, but you'll also be helping out your favorite channel. This is the backpack that we're going to be giving away, or you'll have your choice of the duffel bag as well. Each compartment, how backpacks have multiple compartments, each one has a specific slot. So you have the key fob, you have sunglasses, key fob, laptop, tablet, cell phone, and then the smallest one for little stuff. So it's really freaking cool. And a super hard, you can knock on it, sunglass protector, and even a cover for the rain. So again, you don't need it, but if you want like electronics, if you have all that stuff in there, it has an extra cover for that as well. Again, this can also protect your devices against EMP or CME, anything that's in there. These are Faraday bags. I mean, essentially that's what this is. So remember, go check it out, marfooglenews.com/offgrid. Get a Faraday bag today. All right. Dex.
Adam, real quick, it wasn't just evidence. Like the other thing to think about, like especially with this backpack, this was designed for some of those covert operations that are done by 3-letter agencies or military groups where they have to go in and completely not appear on a radar but bring sensitive electronic equipment with them, right?
Yeah, no, it completely goes dark. Your devices are not going to be tracked. You're not going to get a geotagged warrant anytime soon. Pretty sweet. And then also, you will get a discount. So kind of a win-win. And then we have a 6.2 magnitude earthquake shakes off the West Coast. Now I can show you pictures. This is another cell phone video that I did. Actually, shoot, it didn't load a picture on this one. Dex, can we get a picture of where this was so I can show it?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Hang on.
It says a 6.2 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Northern California rattled a huge swath of the state shortly after noon local time, according to data from the USGS. The quake occurred just off of Cape Mendocino near Humboldt County and was felt as far away as San Francisco and Chico, California. It was slow rolling at first, but then it really got going. Humboldt County Sheriff County Sheriff William Hansel tells CNN, "We haven't had a shake like this since 2010. Now, this is one day or 2 days after a 6.2 hit off of the West Coast. So actually, Dex, I also need a picture of where in Coruscant this is to the Oregon or off of the Wanda Fuca quake that happened right on the Cascadia subduction zone.
This is the one. This is the one we're talking about. This is the one. This is the same one. This is the 6.2 that happened at it. And if you grab the picture I just put in screener, you can see the blue dot is. You can identify it because you know the Wanda Fuca. But
okay, the other article actually said it was 20 miles west of Petrolia, so this didn't mention Petrolia. So I was thinking that this was different. Okay, so let me show you where this is. Hold on right quick. All right, so we have... Look at the placement of this. Look at this. This second red line, that is the Cascadia subduction zone. This is Canada. This is the beginning of California. Goes all the way up. If we had a full margin rupture, what would happen is it would start at the top of this line. It would go from here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. It would go from the top of this line, and it would go all the way down past the orange and to the blue. There's a possibility it could be. They called it what I believe they just started talking about these boomerang quakes. It very well could full margin rupture and then go back up. Imagine 2 earthquakes, one 5 minutes long, and then it comes back and swoops by a second time. I don't know if subduction zones do boomerang quakes. I know regular faults can do it. So you could feel a quake twice. But this one, it could rupture from the bottom. It could rupture from the top. Is this the beginning of a full margin rupture or an event that could lead to it? I don't know. I sure hope not. Everybody just assumes, and they're just wishful thinking. They say, oh, it'll never happen. On average, the Cascadia subduction zone has a full margin rupture every 240 years. It's been 321. We are 81 years overdue. Mind you, that is an average. It's gone as high as 500 years, but on the higher end of it, it's been 300 years. And they actually no, they've had as little as 100 years. So we're talking about it's now been 321 years. We're definitely on the far end as far as that scale. So it's happened more times than they can count, as at around the 240 year mark, and even less. We're at 321. Once it's locked and loaded, it's gonna snap, and it has snapped on average every 240 years for as far back as they can see. So that is pretty freaky. That is a 9.0 5-minute earthquake. Think about if you probably have something that if you microwave tea for 3 or 4 minutes, imagine an earthquake as long as it takes to wait for that tea. Not good. So be on high alert as far as, if you don't have a plan, you should always have a plan if you're on the West Coast, especially for earthquakes and natural disasters. It doesn't have to be the end of the world because most of these things are survivable. But it's not going to be, it's far less survivable if you don't have a plan. You don't know how you're going to reach your family. During these huge events, people get lost and killed because they don't have a plan. That has actually happened. The lack of planning, people have said that has contributed to many deaths after disasters, especially when you're dealing with kids that are, say, at a school 5 miles away from home and the whole town is rattled to dust. How are you going to get there? And if you can't get there one way, what is your backup way? What if your backup way is bad? What is your third backup way? FEMA liaisons between FEMA and the military, they have to have 4 planned routes to get into work when this thing happens. So, not saying to have 4 organized plans, but maybe you might want to have 1. Everything west of the I-5 freeway will be toast is not a comment that I made. That is one of the project leads, or actually, no, I want to say the very head of FEMA said at one point just a few years ago. Another quote that is really big with that one is Chris Goldfinger, one of the lead seismologists of the Cascadia subduction zone. He's quoted everywhere, from the really big one in the New Yorker, is that Washington is not even to a 1 on a 1 to 10 scale of preparedness. Another quote from a gentleman who works at the FEMA headquarters, Region 10, is, "We don't have any supplies here. We will have to get out-of-state support." That's from my video. If they don't have supplies here and you have to have out-of-state help, just think about that. If an entire metropolis is toppled and you don't have any equipment or any supplies for them, it's going to be a bath of some sort. I'll let you guess which one. Icy grip on Europe. Winter soar as countries bid to slow the march of... also during normal years, so before this event ever happened, I was just telling her mother-in-law, my wife's mother-in-law, or her mother, my mother-in-law, that if you actually Google the FLU and you look at the season, I guess the flu actually, it peaks in December too. Like that's it's actually, we're just getting pummeled here. So now we have the peak of that at the same time as this. It's horrible. Winter infections are soaring across Europe amid the spread of the CV, as countries desperately bid to slow the transmission with the introduction of further restrictions. Denmark became the first EU country to lift its restriction 3 months ago, but the emergence of new has seen Europe revert back to tougher rules as cases and hospitalizations are on the rise again. The UK lifted its own lockdown restrictions earlier on July 19th, but Health Secretary Sajid Javid today warned that there are no guarantees Christmas Day will go ahead without a lockdown as Boris Johnson desperately fends off alarming warning from scientists. So UK, you're about to go back into your same things, right? Just like here, people think, oh, it won't happen again. They won't do it again. You kidding? No, I don't. I think it would be super easy for them to do it. Especially since they saw how they kind of just basically did it and everybody kind of went along. He admitted everything is under review after Sage delivered a grim assessment that the number of could reach 2 million by the end of the month without tougher restrictions. Restrictions, key word there. Floating a circuit breaker ban on households mixing and closure of non-essential shops. Ma and pa shops. But Target is essential. Costco is essential. Of course, you got to have your Kohl's. You got to have those big outlet stores, those big, huge corporations that just worldwide, those are essentials. But Jim's tire shop closed down. We don't like your kind around here. Meanwhile,
it's also interesting. Yeah, go ahead and read what you're about to read. That's what I was going to say.
Meanwhile, protesters clashed with police in the Brussels area earlier this month amid demonstrations against the tightening restrictions across the continent. By like the comment earlier too, they're tracking people in Austria that didn't do it. Tracking down. Go ahead.
Well, and so we saw this last year, right? We saw all of this stuff come into play, and we saw, as you said, everybody just did what they were told to do, and now what we're seeing is a lot more of this protest, and as they called it, I think earlier in the headline, it was rioters, right? So this is going to be interesting as this plays out across the world, how the public reacts to what's happening in this data and information that's coming out about this demic.
And by the way, the normal FLU is going to hurt people a whole lot more. Just so you know, regular FLU took people out like all the time. Influenza took a lot of people. Their lives, in fact, it was on some of the top death numbers. Think about it after 2 years of, basically being germaphobes, sanitizing everything, not getting any of the bad germs as well. Your system's not as strong unless you do get some of that, right? But, what do you mix that with? So if your immune system is weaker because it's not getting that other stuff introduced as much, when you do get a regular flu, like my wife's sister is just downright the sickest she's ever been, negative apparently. She has the thing, but it's really, really bad. So I would ask prayers for her. But again, it's like the regular one is quite deadly when you have, when you have no, you get what I'm saying. So pretty big spikes here. Like I said, after Black Friday, everything kicked in. All right, Dex, do you want to talk about some of the craziness going on the web only?
Absolutely. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and scroll down to web only content. You'll find the rest of the story, everything that's going on that we didn't cover here today. Maybe too hot for TV, too opinionated, too sided one way or the other. So go take a look. A lot's going on with the Build Back program. Some stuff happening around the anniversary of events, and definitely things going on with the CV and how it is progressing. Great photograph, though, right there on Twitter about meat with a what is that, like an alarm sensor on it so that you can't steal it from the store. I personally haven't seen that, but when I found that tweet, I thought that was rather interesting. If that's a real image, or if somebody just set it up.
Oh no,
way.
I mean,
but yeah.
Think about how expensive. Think about how expensive meat is. If it's a $20 steak, think about that. They're putting these things on $10 Legos. Why wouldn't they put it on $20 steaks? I have seen.
Yeah. Well, if you zoom in, those are $30 steaks. So even the price has gone up.
Holy moly! Okay, so even more so. Yeah, that's 2 steaks, $30. That's, oh my gosh. So I've seen, there was a gentleman on Aurora in Seattle area that was outside these just scummy hotels on Highway 99, and he sometimes would actually have steaks in his jacket, but he upgraded and he had a cooler. He would take them in his jacket and he would actually have like T-bones and stuff, and he would sell them for a price cut. Of course, you're buying steaks from a dude who might have had them outside for 2 hours, but again, he would do it all the time. He was always out there, and people would, like, he had customers, like a drug dealer. He was selling steaks. He would grab them from the Safeway or whatever else. That has kicked up so much, it's absolutely just off the charts. If it is, I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but here, I see every single night, every time I've gone to any store, I've seen somebody loading up an entire cart and they just walk out. I cannot believe how many times I've seen this. In the back of your head, you're thinking, "Gosh, I'm spending my hard-earned money on this stuff," and that person just puts it in their cart and walks out. It pisses me off. It's like I want to tackle them. They don't touch them. They don't say anything. They'll timestamp it and turn it in, and they can only get criminals for organized retail theft now. And if you're one of those people that steals from Target and all these places and just walks out with a full cart, I'm sorry. Like, even if you're doing really bad, like, just, that's shit. Excuse my language. It's just like, with so many jobs. Here's the thing. If we didn't have the most booming job market that will take anybody for, higher paying wages now, then I would feel more bad about it. Thank you guys, everybody that has come. I did miss a couple people, it looks like, that didn't show me. Winton Dupree says the Alaska quake in 1964 was a 9.2 and lasted 4 minutes and 32 seconds. There are a ton of amazing pictures and stories. Life goes on. So, Winton, the huge difference between that 9.2 and this one is that this is all the way from Canada to California. The Alaska quake would affect Alaska and possibly send a tsunami somewhere, which I don't know about if that one did, but I also don't believe that was a subduction zone. So in Alaska, 9.2 hits there. It's a 8.8 over here, and it's an 8.2 there. This one is going to be a 9.0 plus all the way from Canada all the way down to California. And all along it, you have metropolis after metropolis after metropolis. As Chris Goldfinger said himself, we absolutely had no idea we were building metropolis after metropolis on land that was going to be shaken down to its core and absolutely destroyed. This isn't like a normal earthquake. If Japan was moved over, Japan wouldn't even be on Earth if it was closer to that subduction zone. It would have been underwater. It would have been turned into an underwater mountain. India, that is more like it. And if you see the footage and if you see the death toll from India, that is more like what we will have here. Only instead of the small villages and the larger kind of horrible infrastructure that they had in some of those places. We're talking about all the way down, civilized, all the way up the West Coast. So I agree with you. Life does go on. 21 states are preparing for it, so it is a big deal. Love catching a live show, but I'm East Coast, so I'll have to finish the last half on replay. You guys do such an amazing job. The Foogle family is truly the most amazing and trusting family there is. Wish I could do more. Oh, Bo Gillespie, thank you for what you did do. You didn't even have to do that. Thank you so much. Tristan Early, love and light, thanks again. Sparky's Run, Kimberly, Kelly Simmons, Paul, Joseph Newhouse, Amanda Evanson, Cynthia Lynn, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a massive supporter on D-Live for now years, I believe, at least over a year. Maui's Racing Realtor. In fact, Cynthia Lynn, you're one of the first people on the list to do a, I want to say you were like in the first 5 to do a Ninjet. So thank you so much. Dex, thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great show, brother.
Have a good night. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Thank you, everybody. Tristan Early, Sparky's Run, Kimberly, Bible Talk for Common People, Steph Fran, Frederick Swartz, Diane Moses, Machina Opus, Kevin Svensson, Crypto, 76 Bradford Street, That Gen X Dude, Stonemaster Kevin, Reality Flow, Bones, Southern Yankee Kelly Joe, Nelmy Brown, Shayla Somerville, Marissa A.S., Sadia. Kamagata on the Luther, it's a pastime in the U.S. And the smallpox spread in the black eyes, and the virus spread